Raider Nation, wake up, because something big might be brewing in Vegas. Here's a question that could shake up the secondary. Should the Las Vegas Raiders sign Shaquill Griffin? Let's break it down. This is your Raiders update, and we're diving straight into why Griffin might be the next name wearing silver and black. Now, this isn't just wild speculation. He visited the team recently, and anytime a veteran cornerback steps into Raiders headquarters, we pay attention. But before we jump into the full breakdown, if you're a true Raiders fan, hit that subscribe button, like the video, and tap the bell so you never miss a moment of Raiders action. All right, back to the latest buzz from Las Vegas. Shaquill Griffin, a name you might recognize from his time in Seattle and more recently Minnesota, could be just what this defense needs. Why? Because of his connection to Pete Carroll and how the Raiders often lean into coaching familiarity during signings. It's a trend we've seen before. Griffin is no rookie. He's got 8 seasons of NFL experience and he's still producing. Last year with the Vikings, he racked up 41 tackles, grabbed 2 interceptions, and added 6 pass breakups. Not bad for someone turning 30 this July. And let's be clear, this is not just about stats. It's about leadership, fit, and making smart moves in the secondary, something the Raiders desperately need to improve heading into the new season. Let's talk about Shaquill Griffin's real story, because it's not just about stats, it's about resilience, leadership, and familiarity with what it takes to win. His most impressive run? Without question, those first 4 years under Pete Carroll in Seattle. That's where Griffin truly made his mark. Sure, his stints in Jacksonville, Houston, and Carolina didn't turn heads. But then came Minnesota, and something changed. With solid coaching and a strong defensive scheme, he proved he can still lock down receivers and make a difference on the field. Forget the twin storyline. Forget where he started. The only thing that matters now is this. Can he help the Las Vegas Raiders right now? And here's the strongest argument yet. The Pete Carroll connection. When Pete has coached a player before, there's a spark. The Raiders have shown all offseason that they value those bonds. It's not about nostalgia. It's about finding players who already understand the system, the energy, and the expectation. Griffin was drafted in the 3rd round back in 2017, Pro Bowl by 2019. That's no fluke. He had 15 pass breakups as a rookie, a sign that quarterbacks tried him early. But he answered every challenge. And in 2019, even without an interception, his overall coverage and shutdown skills earned him Pro Bowl honors. If the Raiders believe in team chemistry, experience, and character, and let's be honest, they do, then Griffin fits the mold. He's a respected locker room guy, plays with intensity, and still has gas in the tank. That's exactly the type of player Las Vegas needs on defense this year. Shaquill Griffin's breakout year in 2019 wasn't just impressive. It earned him a big contract from Jacksonville. That kind of payday only happens when teams see real value, and in Griffin's case, it was all about lockdown coverage on the outside. Let's be clear, Griffin is not a slot corner. He's spent his career playing on the boundary, taking on top receivers. That matters for the Raiders, who need someone with the discipline and physicality to handle that role, especially in high-pressure AFC West matchups. Now, some critics might ask, why are we even talking about a guy who peaked in 2019? Fair question. But here's the truth. Griffin quietly had a solid 2023 season in Minnesota. At 29, he's still got fuel in the tank, and his numbers prove it. He played all 17 games, started only 3, but his production stood out. Targeted 57 times, allowed just 31 completions, gave up 429 yards, only a 75.8 quarterback rating when targeted. Those are strong coverage stats for a rotational corner, especially one adjusting to a new scheme mid-career. His 13.5 yards per catch allowed might seem high, but consider the role. Deep threats, limited snaps, and tight windows. His PFF grades, overall 64.3. Run defense, respectable. He's not afraid to hit coverage, 62.4. Not elite, but dependable depth. Here's the key takeaway for the Raiders. Griffin fits the mold of a Pete Carroll product. And when you combine that pedigree with what coaches like Marcus Robertson and Joe Woods are building in Vegas, there's real potential here. Raiders fans have seen it before. Our coaches get more out of smart, physical defenders. So, if Griffin has one more solid year in him, Las Vegas might be the perfect place for it. Bringing in Shaquill Griffin isn't a flashy move, but it's a smart one. At worst, he adds veteran depth. At best, he pushes the young corners and makes this secondary better across the board. For a team like the Raiders, that matters. You don't just sign guys to fill a jersey, you sign them to elevate the room, and Griffin can do that. This isn't just about one player, it's about competition, accountability, and raising the standard in that defensive backfield. That's how good teams are built, layer by layer. And if the Raiders can add a former Pro Bowl caliber corner without breaking the bank, it's a no-brainer. Yes, we'll talk money later. But for now, look at the fit. A Wednesday visit signals real interest. The Pete Carroll connection speaks to his football IQ and coaching. A solid 2023 campaign proves he's still got something left. Then there's the current cornerback situation. Darien Porter has been turning heads in camp. Eric Stokes looks sharp. But let's be honest, Jacorian Bennett is still finding his footing. Adding Griffin doesn't mean you give up on young talent. It means you give them someone to chase, someone to learn from, someone to compete with. And that's exactly what this defense needs. Iron sharpening iron. If Griffin's still hungry, and all signs point to yes, then the Raiders have a decision to make. One that could quietly solidify a position that's been far too shaky for far too long. Look, I like Cameron Richardson's potential. He's got the length, the athleticism, and the physical profile that Pete Carroll usually salivates over. But let's call it like it is. If you're not hearing buzz during camp, that's a red flag. This time of year, silence often means a player isn't standing out. And that's exactly why a guy like Shaquill Griffin makes sense for the Raiders. You've got a young and unproven cornerback room, and it's time to mix in some battle-tested experience. This is a dude who's played in 106 NFL games, has 82 starts, and knows what it means to play under a demanding coaching staff. Last season, he logged 572 snaps, 87% of them on the outside. That's his role. That's where he thrives. Don't overthink it. If Griffin comes to Vegas, he's not playing the slot. And honestly, if you're flipping someone inside, it's not going to be him. It's going to be someone like Jacorian Bennett, or maybe Richardson, if the staff believes he can handle it. But maybe that's not even the point. What the Raiders might be cooking up is a versatile, rotating secondary, a group that can shift, adapt, and confuse quarterbacks pre-snap. You've got Jeremy Chin, Isaiah Polamau, Tyler Hall, Lonnie Johnson Jr., and now possibly Griffin, all mixed in with Porter, Stokes, and Bennett. You're not just trying to build a depth chart. You're building a defense that can morph and match up with anyone. And if your coaching staff is worth their salt, that kind of flexibility is a weapon. All right, let's bring it home with one final reason why Shaquill Griffin to the Raiders makes a lot of sense. And this one's about timing and opportunity. We're heading into that crucial stretch of the offseason where rosters begin to take real shape. June, July, August. This is when coaches make tough evaluations and front offices start looking hard at who's ready to contribute and who's not. Griffin provides immediate stability and veteran leadership to a group still figuring itself out. At this point in the offseason, you're not taking flyers, you're plugging gaps and preparing to compete. And if there's a proven cornerback on the market with 100-plus games under his belt, outside versatility, and a connection to your staff, you pick up the phone. Griffin may not be a headline maker anymore, but he's exactly the kind of piece that can solidify your secondary, push the young guys, and raise the level of competition. And the Raiders, given where they are right now, could use exactly that. The Raiders have the cap space to make this move happen, plain and simple. Before signing linebacker Jermaine Pratt, Vegas had $36.7 million available. Pratt's deal, $4.25 million, with up to $500,000 in incentives. Even after that, there's still plenty of flexibility left to bring in a veteran like Shaquill Griffin, who likely wouldn't cost more than $3 to $4 million, maybe even less. Yes, a roster move will be required since the team will be at 92 players, one over the 91-man limit due to international pathway exemption. But that's standard this time of year. At 29, Griffin still brings starting-level experience, positional versatility, and ties to Pete Carroll's system. Valuable assets for a young, unproven cornerback room. When you've got cap space and a clear opportunity to upgrade a position group, you make that move. That's how smart organizations operate. If the Raiders pull the trigger, it's a sign they're serious about sharpening this secondary, and we'll be covering it live right here on the Raiders Report.